Today's episode is brought to you by Retrovision, a Polish initiative for vintage gaming fans. No, not because we are sponsored by them, they just helped us to record something you're gonna hear in this episode. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. How are you today? Hope all is good. I'm great. I'm in the studio, though today's episode is gonna be a bit different, as you can see, because I'm gonna invite you to our recording room again. Why? Because today I'd like to talk about creating your very first sound effects library and selling it online. And hey, if you're a synth fan, but just by accident you've got a couple of mics and an interface, or if you're a fan of mixing mastering, but you're partially free time still in your studio, that still might be chance for you. So take a look, thank me later. Let's go. Yeah, and it's probably never enough to repeat that this channel is a versatile place, not only about music production, composing, mixing, mastering, but also about game audio, sound design, and audio post. And actually 3 of our first sound effects libraries are available for purchase online. You're gonna find a selection of our sounds on Soundly, and if you're interested in buying full libraries, you're gonna find them on asoundeffect.com and also probably on sunnies.com very soon. And you know what, guys? Yeah, I might be still learning how to mix and master my own music, and I'm repeating this also on my channel, but as for sound post and sound design, well, I can call myself an expert, I believe somehow. I've been doing this for 15 years, kind of successfully. And yeah, if you ever thought about creating your first sound library, yeah, I'm here for you to help you just get started. It's not that difficult. You just to get it very right from the very beginning. So let's go. I'm gonna need these 2 guys to show you some miking techniques. But you know what? Before we start with miking techniques and stuff, the first thing you should decide and you should know while starting recording your sound library is what actually do you want to record. Choosing the topic of your library is the primary thing. Don't go any further if you did not decide on this. Do you want to record some Foley sounds like footsteps? Do you want to record some items manipulation like Foley effects? Do you want to make more sound design, special effects, monster or sci-fi library where you record some components and then you heavily transform them? Do you want to record ambiances outside? Do you want to make them mono, stereo, ambisonic, binaural and stuff? You have to make a choice. What do you want to do? And there are some rules that really gonna help you when choosing. First, choose something that's fully accessible to you, and at the same time it's somehow pretty rare, like nobody's having this ready for recording. For us it was a small room out there, we keep our tools out there, our construction tools. We've been using those tools to build the studio actually, and yeah, it's accessible. It's there. The topic of the library seems consistent, seems interesting. It's fully accessible. We don't have to do too much to record. The second of all libraries was also really accessible to record for us. And at the same time, it was really interesting and quite rare because we had a really terrific chance of recording vintage game consoles from 80s and 90s, thanks to this man. His name is Mariusz. He runs the place called Retrovision in English, and it's his private collection of vintage gaming gear plus all the events and other stuff he's doing for vintage gaming freaks. And well, that was amazing. Thank you, Mariusz, for cooperating with us on it. And we've got tons of amazing buttons, pads, cables, cartridges, mechanisms running, CDs, cassettes, etc., etc. We also designed some in-game sounds like retro 8-bit sounds, and yeah, that's our full collection. The third of our collections is called Modern Computers. It's a nice add-up to vintage consoles. Same thing, computers turning on, turning off, switches, cables, keyboards, mouses, some peripherals like printers and stuff. Yeah, so the good and accessible idea is the basis of your library. The next thing is that when recording, you should keep consistency. Like, you have to know what you want to record when you're at the mic and the record button is pressed on. No matter what mic you're using, we're gonna get to that very, very soon, you have to be consistent and consequent when you're at the mic. Like, do you want to record separate sounds? Do you want to make it something repetitive? Or do you want to plan, perform, and record some actions concerning some objects you're recording? Do you want to make a versatile library of many, many things? Do you want to have a couple of items but totally dissected and recorded in details? Yeah, you have to decide it all. And also, you have to keep your recordings separate. You have to make some recording blocks. So it's not that you're recording everything at the same time, so then you cannot even separate this when editing. First, you focus on one sound, you separate your takes, then you focus on another sound. How many takes do you want to record? How many takes do you want to release? It's good to release at least 3 up to 8, 10 takes per sound for game audio purposes, for game audio, for Foley sounds especially. You usually need more than one take. It's good to take that into account. I'm going to use an example of our own library to show it to you in my DAW. But now let's focus on miking techniques. The first one, like the general approach, could be mono approach. So you just take one mic and that's what you're gonna use to record. This is a Behringer cheap podcast mic, but whatever. You can use, for example, shotgun mics. Our favorites are Sennheiser mics. They are popular here in Poland. You've got MKH 416, for example, or MKH 60. You've got Zeppelins, you've got windshields and stuff when you're recording outside. Also remember about that. And they've got one huge advantage and feature. They reject the sound from the sides and the rear very well. So your sound will be always very pointed and focused on your source that's somewhere out there. It's a very directional mic. You can also use smaller condenser mics, both outside in the studio, like also Sennheiser, DPA, Neumann, and many, many other. You can use large diaphragm mics rather in the studio than outside. We've got Rode NT2A and Shure KSM42 for our SFX recordings because they are kind of flat and neutral and they are very, very low noise mics. We like them. That's it for the mono in very, very short. And we've got also some stereo techniques. Of course, your mics should be paired. Same story. You can use shotgun mics. You can use shorter condenser mics. You can use large diaphragm mics. Probably in some cases of very close sounds, you can also use dynamic mics. We've got pickup pattern that's closer to the membrane, like the sound that is further away, it's not going to be audible well. In dynamic mics, usually you should know that. And let's start with XY. This is XY, my friends. Can you see that actually? I hope. It's 90 degrees angle here. The capsules are at the same position. One is at the top, the second one is at the bottom. So you're going to pick up the sound from here, your right side, and you hear from that mic, right mic, from the left side. These are two cardioids, so they're gonna create a nice, spacious stereo field. This is good both outside the studio, and that's gonna be good for your close recordings inside the studio. And that's mainly what we used when we were recording here. We were recording both mono plus XY, same sound in a different mic configuration. The second technique you should know is called AB. And the mics are in line in some distance. And this technique is good when you've got some sound source that's in kind of a distance from you, like a mid distance in meters, let's say. It's good to record choir like this, for example, busy streets sometimes, or ambience mics for your drum set. Also cool. We didn't use it that much in the studio. Another of miking techniques is called ORTF. It's been invented in France. I'm gonna show it to you like approximately. The capsules are exactly 17 centimeters from each other, and the angle here is 110 degrees. 17 centimeters is 6.7 inch, I think, and that is supposed to somehow simulate your natural ears and your natural stereo hearing, let's say. It also gives you some very cool, nice, spacious effects, especially outside. Remember that recording some close objects like here is not gonna work with ORTF. You need your sound field to be a bit broader. Here, there's also a technique like 90 degrees and 30 centimeters. It's called Dutch technique, or NOS. I think I don't really remember. It's a Dutch technique. It was invented in Netherlands. Also very nice stereo results from this technique. There are some other stereo techniques like binaural technique. Yeah, you mount special microphones inside your ears or on a dummy head, and then when a listener using headphones is going to listen something you've recorded like this, yeah, he's gonna get this very spatial, very cool stereo effect, because his brain is gonna use somebody else's ears and head shape and ear distance as his own, and his brain's gonna decode the sound as very natural. Another cool stereo technique is mid-side. These are two capsules, cardioid plus figure of 8, and polarizing the signal from the figure of 8 plus this cardioid front mic is going to give you some nice stereo image through a special matrix. Let's not talk about math beyond mid-side right now. Anyway, it's really cool. It gives you nice stereo image, plus the cardioid itself still is recording the same consistent mono signal for you, which is also cool. You should also remember that getting too close to your mid-side, recording too close, is gonna make your stereo image weird sometimes. It's not gonna be consistent and good. So mid-side is good for things that are in some distance from you, like make your space that you recording a bit broader. It's not gonna be cool for recording stereo details of any kind, I suppose. And then there comes Ambisonics. It's the same mathematical idea like mid-side, but taken to a higher level. So you've got first, second, third, even fourth or fifth order ambisonics to create so-called sound fields around you. Then you can decode to binaural, 5.1, Dolby Atmos, or whatever you like. And well, Ambisonics is really cool. I've been recording in it, I've been experimenting with it, but you know what? That should not be the technique used for your very first library. Focus solely on grabbing and editing good mono, or maybe mono and stereo, or just stereo itself, and that's gonna be more than enough, my friend. Let's go to the control room. I'm gonna show you one of our libraries in my DAW. I knew I'm gonna forget about something. Field recorders, guys. I used to be a sound recordist on film sets for more than a decade, and I forgot about it. Like, I'm sorry. So first of all, for simple stereo recordings, you can use handheld recorders. They are not the best quality in general. I would not recommend them. They are not the highest quality. You can record some simple stereos using them, but do not make them handheld. Take a stand, mount them on a stand so you don't touch them while recording, really. Also, take care of some windshields when you're recording with them outside. And then come like real field recorders. So first, Zoom Series F, affordable, quite reliable, and really quite good sounding. Not the best, but it's a really good starting point. And then when you want to go fancy, well, there are sound devices with great preamps, great converters, and built like tanks, and simply indestructible. I love them. I used to have one. I sold it. Keeps also value very, very well. There's also some more like Zaxcom or Tascam, but I think that keeping zoom and sound devices in mind is, well, more than enough. And now let's take a look. I'll take my jacket off. And here comes our session. It only looks that scary and complicated. When we zoom in, you'll see it's very well organized and very simple. At the very top, we've got a marker track for remarks. Then we've got export markers for mono and stereo versions, because we were recording and editing together. And it's really cool in Nuendo, because by clicking this, you can edit everything together, like making cuts, moving things on your timeline. It's gonna be all aligned automatically. And guys, I'm just gonna let you have a listen. This is a button sound from a pad from Nintendo NES console. Yeah, as you can see, 8 slightly different variants of the same sound recorded consistently, also edited very precisely for both mono and stereo versions. I actually played both to you at the same time. I shouldn't. And then same story goes for other buttons and all the things you can do with this particular pad. Then we were going to the next unit, to the next unit, and so on and so on. We were just recording unit by unit, having our very own strict methodology that we have prepared before we even started recording. Just turning the rack on meant that we know everything we need to know to make the process efficient and successful. I'm gonna play you some more sounds. This is Nintendo GameCube console. This is the loop of the unit working itself with the laser turned off. And we did the same thing. We've got 4 variants here of the very same sound, recorded, edited, and put on the timeline in the same very consistent way. As you can see, same story, both in mono and stereo, 100% complementary versions. Let's play you one more. This is something else, because this is a Wii console controller, and we were doing like gaming loops, like sounds when you do the real gaming, because of course, yeah, you should record every sound separately, so when you're sound designing, you've got the amount of control you might need, but like real life sounds are also good when you know how to record them, to make them sound natural and to make them fully usable by a sound designer, and this is what we've got. This is something else, because this is the Sega Dreamcast CD latch open and close. Etc., etc., etc. Guys, we have recorded, as you can see, more than 30 minutes, because we have to mind the gaps. I think almost 40 minutes of material, both in mono and stereo, which gives like 80 minutes of Foley sound effects of vintage consoles. So this is how we edit it. This is how we think about it. This is how we make the structure of what we're working on. And one more important thing is that we absolutely were minimal with the mixing. We want to give the user the sound that it's absolutely raw, unmixed, and there's no EQ, nothing. Like sometimes we used some very slight denoising or de-reverberation when we felt it's somehow cool to use it, but it was just minimum. The level of our intervening was less than 1%, I would say, on the raw material. That's also important when you do the Foley library, though when you're sound designing something in a more creative way, of course, do as you wish, but please beware with too radical EQing or too radical compression of the sound. I would say that over-compressing your libraries is really a bad thing. Guys, and then there was time to export it. This is the naming scheme of the whole library, and it's the name of our studio, the name of the library, the name of the unit, the name of the particular part of the unit, sub-part of the unit, then sometimes it's action that we are doing, and then if it's mono, whether it's mono or stereo. And you can choose different naming schemes for your library, but you should keep it really consistent. Like, make no mistakes, make it a really clear top-down structure for the user, so when he's browsing through his files, the basics for the search results are inside the file name. This is really important. There's also something called UCS, Universal Category System. It's the scheme, it's the standard of naming the audio SFX files so that they are all consistent, and it's one standard for all of them. It's cool, also check it out. I'm not going to spend too much time on it right now. And then it's the time to render the files. I forgot one thing, because we have recorded everything 96 kilohertz 24-bit. And this, I would say, is the standard for contemporary libraries. There are no more 48 kilohertz 24-bit. 96 is the real standard right now, I would say, and you should record and export exactly like this. You should export separately mono and stereo files when you made two versions, remember also about that. And the same goes for field recorders, actually. You should record at 96 kilohertz 24-bit. Then you've got your files rendered. What's next? Metadata, guys, also very important. In Cubase and Nuendo, it's quite fun and easy, I would say, because you just export your CSV markers and then you convert to Microsoft Excel, for example, like this. You've got a file name. This is exactly the name of our file. You can take the duration, for example, and then comes description. You should describe your sound a bit more detailed than you did in the file name, so it's additional info for your search results. Then at the top we added exact equipment that we have used for this. We also put ourselves as creators of this library. And then, guys, you should actually convert it to a file that's only file name and description, because then you can do it in Soundly. Soundly does it very well. You just simply drag your files to Soundly, you choose all of them, you do edit metadata on selected files, and all the description that you made in your track list that's going to be available when you're selling the library should be also inside the file in metadata itself. You just take use metadata file, you drag and drop the file here, and you do it. You're going to find a complete tutorial on it on YouTube easily, guys. Remember about this. So now that we've recorded, edited, exported everything and meta tagged it, we're ready to sell. But how and where should we do it? Guys, you should simply drop an email to people@soundsnap.com, though I know that they are not getting new content right now, but always remember about them. Then contact Soundly people. These are the guys that bought some content from us. Then create a vendor account at A Sound Effect. Also contact them. They're gonna verify your content. Everybody is gonna verify your content, this is obvious. And they're gonna set you up an account, and you're gonna have an access to WooCommerce WordPress plugin when you're gonna have a small sub shop with your products. And our latest discovery is Sunnis.com. We're going to publish there also. And Timothy, the guy out there in their support, well, that was amazing, guys. That was the fastest support and the best one I have ever witnessed. Like, I had a problem with my vendor account. Timothy was there for me. It all took minutes to launch my sub page for my products. Congratulations, guys. I can't really wait to cooperate with you and also with all the rest, because yes, we have made and sold 3 of our libraries, but there are more to come. Let's sum the things up. Well, there are of course more factors to consider when producing your first library, like your library pricing or strategy of your marketing or going on sale and stuff. You're gonna find some hints on it both on sonys.com and asoundeffect.com. And you know what? Today's video was supposed to be the most intense, the shortest crash course, just to help you not even get started, like to answer some basic questions. Am I interested in it? Am I capable of doing it? Do I like it actually at all? Do I have some skills? Do I have ideas to start creating it? And can I earn some money on it? Well, that's the question we're gonna answer in a couple of weeks or months probably. Then we're gonna tell you. And guys, I hope I somehow helped you make your first steps. I answered a couple of very basic questions and I somehow inspired you to start producing your SFX. Thank you. Hope to see you soon. Take care.